My name is Dyron Clements.
I am Kateria Kit Mayo.
My name is Fred Motley.
I'm Kate McDonald.
My name is Gail Hunt Brinkley.
I'm Kelly Cunningham.
My name is Shanique Scott.
I'm Carice Luckbermer.
My name is Crystal Cobbs.
And these are our Danville legacy stories.
I was born and raised here in Danville, Virginia, affectionately known as the Dan River region. After completing high school, I attended Averett University, completed my bachelor's as well as my master's degree. I chose to stay here in Danville and make Danville my legacy. I'm very, very compassionate about helping people stay in Danville, to buy and sell their homes, and to find the real estate needs that suit them. Growing up, my father had rental property, so I was introduced to the real estate business at a very early age. From an investor standpoint, but it made me appreciate home ownership, helping people rent properties, which then in the future led them to buy their own properties. It's like a stepping stone, but that's what got me into real estate. I would like to be remembered in my legacy as a realtor that didn't just step out and specialize in, say, high-end properties. You know, I really want to be remembered as the realtor that helped everybody, whether it be the high-end real estate, whether it be the commercial real estate, whether it be a 200-acre farm in Southside Virginia, or whether it be an investor investing in rental properties, because all of those are aspects that help our community grow. And at my children's age, not knowing what path that they're going to go down with their life really, to me, makes it hard to define where they need to be or what they should be doing. I would like my children, my grandchildren, and all those after me to remember me as one that A, loved the Dan River region, B, that worked very hard to ensure that the Dan River region grows, and number 3, know that I love Danville.
I am a lifelong Danvillian. And in my leadership role, I can't even begin to speak on that until I let everybody know that it was a long road to where I got, the place I'm at right now. And I want my kids to know that you don't have to be a victim of your circumstance. You write your own story. To believe in yourself and just do the best you can. Enjoy life and walk in purpose. I am now the president of Unit 29 Auxiliary for American Legion. I'm also their 6th district vice president. These positions I never thought I would hold. At one point, I didn't have confidence in my own leadership abilities. But a little fellowship I partake in, Middle Border Forward, I recommend that to everyone. It helped me to involve and believe in myself. And after that, the skies was the limit. I started running the auxiliary within months of actually signing up. We've already made changes under my leadership. We have expanded our numbers from 3 active members to 12 to 15 and growing. We've also grown our treasury, expanding programs, reaching out into other areas. Also, with my newfound leadership skills, I am now the one of the chairpersons for the Alzheimer's Association, which I am really looking forward to, getting more involved with. I have my first meeting the end of this month in that role. Last year, just as a member of the committee, we were one of the only cities to reach our goal. Ours was $41,000. We not only reached it, but surpassed it. So as a chairperson, I'm hoping to go even further than that. Also, as a leader in this area, I want to be known more than someone who raised money, or, I want to be known as someone who actually changed lives, bettered our youth, opened the minds, most importantly, of our youth. Be an example to them that we can do anything we set our minds to doing. Whether we start at 15, 35, or 45, we can reach our dreams. I just can't stress it enough. No matter where you start doesn't define how you finish.
I was born in Danville, Virginia. I love the city of Danville. And my legacy, I would like to be remembered as a historian of the history of the African American community, and a storyteller that weave those stories into the tapestry of Danville's history. There's so many contributions that African Americans have made, and yet it hasn't been documented. And I would like to be among those people who are telling the stories, writing the stories about all of the people that lived the stories. When I grew up in Danville, it was segregated, which means that there was for blacks only and for whites only. And yet I do remember that even though it was legally supposed to be a separation, I do remember that there was talking, there was business transaction made between both communities. I also remember that in high school, there was always this push to recognize the leaders within our community. And we had leaders, people who were moving forward. We had teachers, we had nurses, we had lawyers, we had businessmen. And so there was always this presence of African Americans doing something in the city of Danville. Yet there wasn't any documentation of it. So that when we were learning the history of the city, it was mostly about the white leaders. And of course, I came up during the civil rights movement, in which Black is Beautiful became very prominent. And there was this urgency that we needed to actually start documenting the history. And so I guess I was a child of that product, so that I realized how important it was to do reports and write newspaper articles, to cut out newspaper articles about anything that was showing that there was a movement, a progression for equality, and to be recognized for their contribution to the city of Danville.
So I'm Kate McDonald, and I worked as the curator of the Camilla Williams exhibition at the Danville Museum of Fine Arts and History. I took this project as part of my capstone for my Master's in Museum Studies at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and I was incredibly excited to come onto this project because of the amount of creative freedom and true possibility I really saw with this exhibit, especially because it highlighted the story of a woman who really deserved much more recognition than past historians had really given her, and I felt it was important to really highlight that voice. So, as I came into this project, it was important to me to consider that I don't identify as a person of color, and I wanted to make sure that Camilla Williams' voice was the one that was highlighted through this exhibit. As a result, we made sure to use as many quotes as we possibly could from the book that Camilla Williams co-authored with Dr. Stephanie Shonikin. Together, the two women wrote an autobiography of Williams, and that served as one of our primary documents for this exhibit because, again, we wanted it to be like Williams was telling her own story to Danville and anyone else who wanted to learn about her history. That was incredibly important to me, just to make sure that my own curatorial voice took a backseat to someone whose story really had not received the attention it deserved and that it needed to. I have been so happy to hear the feedback from the public about the exhibit. During the opening, I collected about 70 responses through demographic surveys and post-exhibit surveys, and every single one of those surveys came back with positive reactions and responses, which was so amazing to see. I've had people reach out to me and tell me that they had no idea who Camilla Williams was and they learned so much about her. Or I've also had a lot of people reach out to me and say they already knew about Williams and they were so happy to see her represented in this way. And that is so powerful to hear, that a narrative you've been working on, trying to bring a history to light, has been received positively by both community members and people who might not have had any familiarity with Williams before the exhibit. That was really amazing, and I hope that moving forward the museum can continue to create content which inspires people and encourages them to explore histories they weren't aware of before.
So I'm Gail Hunt Brakely, and I consider myself homegrown. I have been a resident of Danville, Pittsylvania County all of my life, and it is one thing that I'm so very much proud of. I'm proud of the fact that my dad and mom raised us with this concept of appreciating home and family. And for me, that's what Danville is. A part of me is that I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, specifically Alpha Phi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And I've been a member of this illustrious group of women since 1996. One of the things that I most appreciate about Alpha Kappa Alpha is its emphasis on service to all mankind. So when I think about my legacy and what I'd like to leave for this community and perhaps even for my family to remember, is the concept of service, and that I am a person who enjoys providing service to all mankind. That service looks a lot of different ways. And in Danville with Alpha Phi Omega chapter, that service looks like working with the community to focus on specific, what we call targets that improve life for some of our most disenfranchised citizens. We do such things as work with young people. We provide for the elderly or those who might find themselves in situations that might be challenging at a particular time. We also are proud of our emphasis on historically Black colleges and universities. One of the things that's important for Danville to me is that Danville is a conglomerate. We have all types of people here, and the emphasis on HBCUs gives us an opportunity to work with young people and their families to encourage them toward attending historically Black colleges and universities. I enjoy working with the sisters in Alpha Kappa Alpha. We spend a lot of time traveling and focusing on things that can improve our community. There have been Alpha Kappa Alpha women in our community who have set the bar very high. Among those are, number one, Ruby Archie, who was mayor for the city of Danville, and another significant individual is Camilla Williams, who is a member also of Alpha Kappa Alpha. That legacy that Camilla brings to Danville and to Alpha Kappa Alpha is second to none. We are proud of her accomplishments as an individual and of her service to all mankind as well.
I have been in Danville, Virginia all of my life, born and raised, and my niche is fashion. I have loved fashion from the time that I cannot remember. I believe I came out of my mother's womb loving fashion. My grandmother, Catherine McClellan, she sewed a long time ago, and now her daughter, my aunt, is what I like to call my fashionista queen. All of my sense of fashion, my love for fashion came from my family. That's who has inspired me to, continue fashion. I have never touched a sewing machine. I want to, just because of, the stories that I hear about the clothing that my grandmother has made. But that's a life, something I want to continue to do, something I might can tackle later on. But what makes me love fashion, one is my family. When I came back to Danville, Virginia in 2009, I can say that my love for fashion and my love for people combined together. There were a lot of people in Norfolk, Virginia that told me no. That told me, they kind of, without saying it, they kind of told me that I wasn't good enough, that the society or social media or the top fashion moguls have this image to where a model is supposed to look a certain way. So if you do not look that certain way, then that's them telling you that you are not who they want. And in my way of thinking, no one can tell you that you are not good enough, that you are not pretty enough, that you are not tall enough. So my mission was to kind of combine my love for fashion and my love for people together, and that's where my modeling career came from. I used to model, but now I just believe in there has to be someone that has a platform for people like me. This generation, myself included, I would just say we are Black history in the making. We are doing things right now that has not been done in the city. And I would just like to be remembered as someone who is for the people, who is very compassionate for the city that they live in, and definitely can recognize growth within.
My legacy, I think everyone wants to be remembered and everyone wants to have a legacy. Wendell Scott is a cultural icon, and his legacy of determination and living life to the fullest and is something that I strive for as my legacy, and doing that, I leave that through the youth that we work with, through the foundation, and through my family and friends. And I want to leave a lasting impression so that 20 years or 30 years from now, you won't be talking particularly about Shanique or Shanique Scott. You'll be seeing it through the youth that we work through here in Danville. So, being a part of this opportunity was great for me because I wanted to be able to show my kids that their mom is confident and that she had a voice and that she gave back, and that I want them to be able to continue that legacy of giving back to their community. That's how I was raised by my grandmother, and that's how my husband was raised by his family. And so one of my biggest legacies will be in my children. It will be in Wendell and Talasia and Ward Jr. Those are my legacies. That's how I want to be remembered, through them, through the kids that I serve. It's just important to have a legacy of your own outside of, everything else. The Wendell Scott Foundation is dear to my heart, but just as a person, as an individual, my main goal is to lead by example in my community and leave that legacy, show up for the people that I care about and that I love, and that my family remembers me as a loving, caring, gentle person that was always there, that they could depend on. Those are the characteristics that I want to pass off to my children, and I think we've done a pretty good job so far. And so we'll see in 20 to 50 years from now But that's what I want my legacy to be.
Well, I have been a genealogist forever. Before I even knew what a genealogist was. I have friends who say that I was telling them at the age of 5 who they were related to. It's just a lifelong passion of mine that I kind of picked up from my grandfather. My grandfather, Reverend Bedford Luck, from the Camp Grove community, he was the community historian. He knew how everybody was related. And I hung around him a lot. And I always wanted to know, whether this person was my cousin or if this wasn't my cousin. And I guess I've just, once I got into it, and I guess most genealogists, you would say they're kind of nosy too. So I've always wanted to know how everybody connect. At first I just started researching my own family. I started with my own family and what I didn't know. And then it just grew because once I started researching my family, then I came across all of the connections, the intermarriages and those things. And then I would delve into those family lines. And then one day I looked up and I had a database that was right at 20,000 people. 20,000 people that I've researched. It all started with my family. And then once I saw how all the other families connected, I just got interested in the Danville story. I would like to be remembered for trying to bring people together. And that's what my genealogy does. It brings people together. I've in doing this work, and I've done, research for everybody. And I've literally brought people to tears just by telling them things about their ancestors that they didn't know. I truly feel that life repeats itself and that a lot of us are actually mimicking the lives of our ancestors. You would just be surprised at the people that I've researched that may have had certain ailments, and they could look on their great-grandmother's death certificate and see that they had the same ailment, so it's like, it's not only that, but it's like you're getting a health lesson. So it's like, that's where I get that from. That's genetic, but that's what I want to be known for. I want to be known for as the one that tried to bring people together using genealogy.
I'm a lifelong Danvillian. I returned to my community upon graduating from Old Dominion University. I've worked with families and their children since returning. I currently serve on Danville School Board, and what I'd like to leave as my legacy is making the community a better place for our children, knowing that our children are receiving the greatest education that they can receive, knowing that they are receiving a quality education no matter what neighborhood they live in, no matter what classroom they're in. I consider myself a person who thinks outside of the box. I consider myself a person who pushes the envelope. Sometimes I'm called feisty. What makes me feisty is I'm passionate about doing what's best for everyone, especially when it comes to children and just people who don't have a voice for themselves. I've always been that person who just feels like I have to speak up for other people. I remember even in elementary school stepping in and breaking up a fight in between two boys just because I didn't like the fact that the other person was getting picked on. So, just always felt like it was my duty to step in and help the people who didn't have a voice for themselves. My mom inspires me. Ever since I was a little girl, I have watched her help people in the community. She's always helped in her church. She's always gone to nursing homes and helped people, and I always used to complain about her helping everybody, but I turned into my mom. I do the very same things that she do, or that I saw her doing. I do the very same things that she do in a different manner, serving more so in the community, whereas she served more in the church, but very much like my mom. I would want people to say she was the person who did what was right. Even if she had to stand alone, she did what was best for all people. No matter what, she did what was best for everyone.
These are just some of the stories that the I Am Project has captured. The I Am Project allows us to truthfully tell our stories. be in control of defining our legacy, and then generously share them with others to be told to generations to come. Our stories, in our voices, in our likeness, and in our time.